Today, we're taking a deep dive into the healing of Peter's mother-in-law. It's, often an overlooked miracle,
It really is.
which the source material we've been immersing ourselves in, it's this collection of ancient texts, scholarly commentaries, contemporary reflections, aptly titled The Healing Touch. Jesus restores Peter's mother-in-law presents with remarkable clarity and insight. So our mission today is to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge of insight from these texts. We'll explore the historical context, which makes this healing so remarkable, the nature of the restoration that went far beyond just physical recovery, and maybe most importantly, what this ancient story means for you today, right now.
And we'll be sifting through those details, looking at the nuances, connecting the historical dots to contemporary life. Really uncovering why this particular event, described across multiple Gospels actually, continues to resonate so powerfully.
Yeah.
It offers perspective on our own struggles, right? Our own periods of illness or maybe stagnation, and our profound potential for restoration, for renewed purpose. It raises an important question right from the start. What tangible, applicable lessons can an ancient narrative of healing offer us about finding our own purpose, our own well-being in the, complex tapestry of modern life?
Our journey begins with this really vivid image painted by the gospel accounts. A dimly lit room, maybe a simple sun-baked home in a quiet Galilean village. Inside, a woman gravely ill, likely struggling for breath, her body burning with this relentless fever. And then a hand reaching out. This immediate scene, it sets a tone of urgency, of vulnerability, and impending, dramatic change. We're invited to consider a fever that, in that era, without any of the medical stuff we take for granted, well, it could very easily be life-threatening, a death sentence even.
Understanding the true gravity of an illness like a fever in ancient Galilee is absolutely crucial. You have to grasp the magnitude of this event.
Yeah.
In a world devoid of modern medicine, no antibiotics, no advanced diagnostics, not even basic antiseptics, a persistent fever wasn't just a nuisance, it was terrifying. It often preceded rapid decline and, well, often death.
Wow.
It could signify severe infections like dysentery, typhus, maybe even malaria, which was endemic around the Sea of Galilee.
Okay.
Any of these conditions could swiftly lead to dehydration, organ failure, a fatal outcome. His historical context, it just amplifies the immediacy and the profound significance of the healing that follows.
It really does.
It highlights just how precarious life was and, how desperate a family might become in that kind of situation.
So our deep dive takes us right into the heart of this calm Galilean village, specifically right into Peter's house. And it's striking, isn't it? This isn't some grand temple or a bustling public square where you might expect miracles as a public spectacle.
No, not at all.
Instead, it's a private, intimate, domestic setting. The Gospels often describe Jesus teaching in synagogues or healing in public, but here we find him walking into a very personal, everyday space.
Yes.
And there, quietly, Jesus encounters Peter's mother-in-law afflicted with this life-threatening fever. This choice of setting feels incredibly deliberate, almost like a whisper rather than a shout.
That choice of location, a private home, is indeed highly significant. It immediately underscores a personal, unannounced intervention. It's not a prearranged public display or some performance for a crowd.
Right.
It suggests an inherent deep compassion that reaches right into the mundane, often unseen details of everyday life. This isn't about grand displays for multitudes.
No.
It's about a specific individual in a specific private moment of profound need. It highlights an incredibly accessible form of divine presence, one that isn't confined to sacred spaces but readily enters the ordinary, often messy spaces of human existence.
That's a great point.
It's a reminder that even in the quiet corners of our lives, profound interventions can occur.
And as we touched on, the accounts tell us she was lying in bed with a fever. We might casually think of, a mild cold or the flu, something you fix with rest and maybe some medicine.
Yeah, our modern perspective.
But the ancient texts emphasize this was a condition that at the time could easily be fatal. It wasn't minor discomfort. It was a grave, immediate threat to her life.
Absolutely.
When you imagine a world without any of the medical safeguards we assume today, no antibiotics, no modern diagnostics, no IV drips for hydration, a persistent high fever could quickly spiral into something truly catastrophic.
Right.
We're talking about a terrifying vulnerability to diseases that, are now largely treatable, but were then just silent killers ripping through communities.
You're absolutely right to stress that context. If we connect this to the broader picture of ancient medical realities, Fevers weren't just symptoms. Often they were the primary manifestation of severe infections or untreatable diseases that just ravaged populations.
Wow.
The sheer lack of sophisticated medical understanding meant that a sustained fever was a genuine cause for profound alarm. It could lead to rapid deterioration and death. Imagine the sheer fear and helplessness that would grip a family in such a situation, watching a loved one just waste away with little to no recourse. The immediacy of the threat is palpable, elevating the stakes of the situation considerably beyond simple discomfort. It truly emphasizes the precariousness of life in that era. Even what we might consider a common illness could indeed be a death sentence, impacting not just the individual, but the entire household, who depended on their contributions.
And what's truly remarkable, almost audacious, is Jesus' response to this desperate situation. The source material explicitly states, but Jesus doesn't hesitate.
Right.
There's no moment of reflection, no questioning the severity, no pause for deliberation. It's immediate, decisive action. He perceives the urgent need and acts without delay.
Yeah.
There's no grand pronouncement beforehand, no pre-healing ritual, just an instant, direct move towards the sick woman. That unhesitating quality feels like a powerful statement in itself.
This immediate, unhesitating response, it really speaks volumes about the nature of Jesus's compassion and inherent authority. There's no delay, no consultation with others, no need to gather strength or prepare for the task. It's direct intervention, flowing from an inherent power that doesn't seem to require external validation or preparation.
Right.
It conveys this profound sense of readiness and a complete, almost intuitive grasp of the situation, as if the outcome is never in doubt.
Yeah.
This proactive, unhesitating action contrasts sharply with, well, the common human tendency to pause, to assess risks, or even to recoil when faced with severe, maybe contagious illness. It highlights a profound act of compassion that moves instantly to alleviate suffering.
It does.
It's a bold display of confidence, not in some external method, but in his own intrinsic capacity.
And then the method itself, how does he heal her? With just a touch. The source quotes Matthew 8:45. He touched her hand and the fever left her. It's astonishingly, disarmingly simple, isn't it?
It really is.
In a world where people often sought elaborate rituals, complex herbal concoctions, maybe superstitious charms to ward off illness, this almost feels understated, almost too easy to be truly effective. What does that simplicity communicate about the power at work?
That simplicity is, in fact, profoundly significant. It demonstrates that the power isn't derived from some elaborate ritual or a public display for effect or even a specific incantation. It seems to come from the inherent authority of Jesus himself. And this raises an important question that kind of challenges our assumptions. What does it imply about the nature of power when it's expressed with such understated, direct intimacy? It suggests a power that operates from within, an intrinsic authority, rather than one reliant on external theatrics or human intermediaries. It cuts through all the noise and expectation of what a miracle should look like, centering on the person in need and the immediate personal connection.
Right.
The directness of the touch emphasizes a tangible, intimate interaction, devoid of any unnecessary showmanship. It tells us that the power doesn't need to announce itself loudly. Its efficacy is immediate and undeniable.
The source material consistently highlights the stunning simplicity. No long prayers, no grand gestures, just a touch.
Yeah.
And the effect, instantaneous. The fever left her immediately, gone without a trace. There's no period of convalescence described, no lingering weakness. She isn't just surviving, she's perfectly, robustly well. It's like a total immediate reset.
What's truly fascinating here is the absolute completeness of the healing. It's not a gradual recovery where symptoms slowly recede.
No.
It's an immediate, total departure of the illness. This indicates a power that doesn't just alleviate symptoms or, assist the body's natural healing processes, but eradicates the underlying cause entirely and restores full vitality. Think about the common experience of recovering from a severe fever today, even with all our modern medicines, typically a process, right? Often involving lingering weakness, fatigue, a period of recuperation.
Definitely.
But in this case, the healing is absolute, an instantaneous restoration to full, robust health. It speaks to a different order of healing, one that transcends the natural, gradual processes of the human body and mind. It's not just recovery, it's a profound, instant transformation.
And Mark's Gospel, specifically Mark 1.31, adds another truly fascinating detail. It tells us that Jesus helped her up.
Ah, yeah.
This is more than just a cure, isn't it? It implies an active lifting of physical assistance that signifies a restoration of strength that went way beyond merely being free of the fever.
Yeah.
She wasn't just able to breathe easier or maybe eat again. She was able to stand and move with renewed vigor. The small detail for Mark adds so much to the picture.
That detail for Mark is absolutely crucial because it goes far beyond simply stating the fever left. It implies a complete restoration of physical vitality, the immediate ability to stand, move, and function without any lingering weakness.
Right.
This act of helping her up suggests she was so debilitated by the fever that she couldn't even rise on her own. So for her to be immediately not only fever-free, but also strong enough to be helped up and then perform tasks, well, it points to an immediate and total rejuvenation of her physical capabilities.
Yeah.
It's a nuanced but incredibly important distinction, highlighting the holistic nature of the miracle. It wasn't just about removing the negative, it was about infusing positive, robust health. It's the difference between merely stopping a fall and lifting someone back to their feet with renewed energy.
And here's where the story takes a truly remarkable turn, moving from personal healing to profound purpose. After being healed, the source material tells us she immediately began serving.
Yes, this part is key.
This wasn't just healing, it was a restoration that immediately manifested in action, restoring her to her active role and purpose within the household. She didn't stay in bed resting.
Yeah.
She didn't ask for a meal to be brought to her. She didn't even take a moment to savor her newfound health. She got up and started serving her guests, her family. That's astonishing, particularly for someone who's just, at death's door.
This act of immediate service is a key insight, and it's transformative in understanding the full scope of the healing. It suggests that healing, in this context, isn't just about the absence of pain or illness,
Right.
but about the return to an active, engaged life, a life of profound purpose and contribution. It implies that true holistic healing empowers one not just to passively recover or endure, but to actively contribute again. Often, after severe illness, a period of slow recuperation is absolutely necessary, even after the acute phase passes. We all know that.
Of course.
But her immediate return to service highlights a complete and comprehensive restoration of strength, energy, and well-being. This prompts an important question. How does this challenge our contemporary understanding of what being well truly means, beyond just the absence of symptoms?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It suggests that well-being includes the capacity and the desire to engage meaningfully with life and to serve others. It's like the natural overflow of being truly whole.
So this leads us to a fascinating question. Why Peter's mother-in-law? Why this particular moment, this specific person in this quiet, private home? The source material we're studying suggests this miracle wasn't random. It highlights a deeper, more intentional design behind Jesus's actions. It wasn't a public demonstration on the scale of, say, the feeding of the 5,000,
Right.
but a quiet, intensely personal act. What do you think that tells us?
If we connect this to the broader picture of Jesus' ministry, it absolutely underscores the idea that divine intervention isn't haphazard or purely spontaneous. It's purposeful, even in what might seem like a small domestic setting. It implies a focused, deliberate attention on individual circumstances, demonstrating that every life, every person's suffering is seen, is valued, and is worthy of direct intervention.
Yeah.
It wasn't about building a public reputation or gathering a crowd for future sermons, but purely about meeting a specific personal and urgent need. This speaks to a deeply intimate engagement rather than, say, a performative one.
Right.
It suggests a divine nature that is genuinely invested in the personal well-being of individuals, not just their collective spiritual enlightenment. It humanizes the divine in a powerful way.
This miracle, the source goes on to say, reminds us that Jesus cares about every detail of our lives, even the ones we think are too small for him, too mundane, or maybe too embarrassing to bring forward. It's about the astonishing intimacy of his concern. We often tend to think of divine intervention in grand, cosmic terms, parting seas, dramatic pronouncements, massive societal shifts.
We do.
But this story brings it right down to the kitchen table, to the everyday struggles, the silent anxieties, the chronic aches that can consume our personal worlds. It's a quiet, kind of radical act of attention.
This really challenges the perception that divine attention is reserved only for grand public spectacles or for prominent figures. The healing of Peter's mother-in-law vividly illustrates an intimate, personal engagement with suffering that extends to seemingly insignificant, ordinary details of daily life. What's truly fascinating here is how profoundly it personalizes the concept of divine care. It suggests that absolutely no human concern, no matter how mundane, how seemingly small, is beneath notice or unworthy of compassion. It's a powerful statement about empathy and presence, indicating a deep awareness and concern for the individual's lived experience, not just their spiritual state or their public profile. It truly humanizes the divine interaction, making it accessible and deeply reassuring.
Definitely.
It's a reminder that even when we feel completely unseen in our struggles, there is an awareness that penetrates every layer of our being.
And the source material draws a powerful connection between this individual healing and a much broader scriptural theme, specifically to Psalm 103.3, which tells us that God forgives all your sins and heals all your diseases. Peter's mother-in-law's healing then becomes this tangible, living illustration of that comprehensive, overarching promise.
Right.
It links a specific physical healing to a much larger, encompassing truth about the divine nature.
This connection to Psalm 103.3 is absolutely vital because it places the individual miracle within a much larger, timeless theological framework. It's not an isolated event,
No.
but a concrete example of a consistent divine characteristic.
Yeah.
A God who is intimately involved in both the spiritual and physical well-being of individuals. This prompts a crucial question. How do such individual, seemingly small acts serve as tangible expressions of grander, overarching divine principles? It demonstrates that the divine promise of healing isn't merely theoretical. It's actively embodied in specific acts of compassion and power. It proves that the abstract concept becomes incredibly tangible and real through personal intervention.
Right.
The simultaneous mention of forgiving sins and healing diseases in the Psalms suggests a profound, integrated concern for humanity's complete well-being, both in spirit and in body, echoing that holistic nature of the healing we just discussed.
So bringing all these threads together, what does this all mean for us? It means Jesus' power isn't just vast and mighty, operating on some cosmic scale. It's also intensely personal, deeply intimate, and always purposeful.
Yes.
It's finely tailored to the specific need of the individual. It's not a blanket, one-size-fits-all power, but one that actively and precisely engages with individual circumstances, meeting people exactly where they are.
This understanding means that the power isn't abstract or distant. It's deeply engaged with the human condition. It's specifically designed to address individual suffering and restore individual flourishing. It encourages critical thinking about how power can be both immense in its scope and incredibly specific in its application. It demonstrates a profound precision in its manifestation. It's not just the ability to heal, but the willingness to engage personally with specific instances of suffering, transforming them with intentionality and ultimate purpose. This underscores that every act, no matter how seemingly small or private, carries immense meaning and contributes to a larger tapestry of divine purpose, reaching into the very core of a person's being in life.
That's powerful.
It's a deeply comforting and empowering thought.
The source material distills 3 powerful, timeless lessons for us today from this remarkable story. The first is incredibly profound and resonates deeply, I think, in our often overlooked world. Jesus sees you.
Yes.
Just as he noticed Peter's mother-in-law and her quiet, private suffering, the lesson is that he sees your struggles, your pain, your hidden anxieties. And this isn't just about physical sight, is it? It's about a profound recognition, a deeply empathetic awareness.
Indeed. This implies an active, compassionate awareness that goes far beyond merely observing. It means that no struggle, no pain, no quiet desperation is hidden or overlooked, no matter how insignificant it might feel to you or to others. It offers an incredible sense of validation for anyone who has ever felt unseen, unheard, or simply irrelevant in their difficulties. It's about a profound empathy, a recognition that extends beyond the superficial to the very core of one's being and one's suffering. Whether that's physical illness, deep emotional distress, relational brokenness, or, nagging anxieties about the future. It's a comforting and empowering thought that even when you feel most isolated, most invisible, you are known and acknowledged at the deepest level by a compassionate presence.
That's huge.
It encourages a deep sense of being understood and valued for exactly who you are, struggles and all.
That leads us directly to the second powerful lesson. Healing is holistic. The source material beautifully describes how Jesus doesn't just heal the body. It says he restores the soul.
Yes.
What does that profound phrase mean for us in practical, real-world terms today? This takes it far beyond just the absence of physical symptoms, doesn't it? It suggests a complete, multidimensional renewal.
This expands our understanding of healing significantly, moving beyond the purely physical. It suggests a comprehensive restoration that truly encompasses emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, in addition to physical health.
Right.
It implies that true healing brings alignment and peace to the entire person, addressing the deeper, often unseen impacts of suffering, not just the outward symptoms. Think about it. Illness often leaves emotional scars, right?
Oh, definitely.
Deep-seated fears, lingering anxiety about recurrence, or even a profound sense of identity linked to one's suffering. Restoring the soul means addressing that emotional fatigue, rekindling lost hope, reestablishing a sense of self-worth and belonging that illness can erode. It means moving from merely existing without pain to truly thriving with renewed mental clarity, emotional peace, and spiritual alignment. It's about being made whole in every dimension of your being. This prompts an important question for us to consider. How often do we compartmentalize and separate these vital aspects of our well-being when perhaps, as this story suggests, they are intrinsically and profoundly linked? True wellness is an integrated state.
And the third powerful lesson, which flows directly from the second, is serve after healing.
Yes.
Like Peter's mother-in-law, who immediately got up and began to serve them, Luke 4:39 says, "We are called to move into a posture of service to others when God works in our lives, when we experience healing and restoration." This isn't just about passively receiving a gift, is it? It's about turning our personal restoration into a profound contribution, a form of, I guess, paying it forward.
This is an absolutely pivotal point, and it transforms the nature of healing from a passive reception into an active catalyst for positive change. The restoration isn't just for personal comfort or self-preservation.
Right.
For renewed capacity to contribute, to care for others, to engage meaningfully with the world. It fundamentally emphasizes that receiving a profound benefit often comes with the inherent opportunity, or even the profound call, to extend that benefit outwards, to become a channel of blessing. Her immediate action, the fact that she didn't wait or rest, demonstrates that this holistic healing empowers one not just to return to normalcy, but to engage robustly in a life of purpose and generosity.
Yeah.
What's truly fascinating here is the immediate practical application of her restored health. She didn't wait. She acted out of a newfound strength and gratitude.
Yeah.
It highlights a natural outflow of renewed energy and vitality, directing it towards the welfare of others, moving from being served to serving.
So pulling all these powerful threads together, what does this all mean for us today? Jesus' healing, as demonstrated so vividly here in Peter's home, truly inspires action.
It does.
It's not merely about what happens to you, a static event in time, but profoundly about what you can then do with what has happened. It creates a ripple effect, turning a deeply personal, often private restoration into a powerful source of blessing for others, enriching the communal fabric.
It's a powerful statement about agency and purpose. When we are restored, when we experience that profound holistic healing, we are empowered to engage with the world in a more meaningful way, often finding that meaning in service to others. It connects the intensely personal experience of healing to a broader communal impact, transforming the individual from a state of need to an agent of positive change. This kind of healing isn't merely curative, it's deeply transformative.
Yeah.
Moving a person from a state of incapacitation and passive reception to a state of being able to provide, from being cared for to actively caring for others. It broadens the very meaning of being well, as being able to live purposefully and contribute generously to the lives around you.
And now for what the source material calls the shocking truth. This miracle, tucked away in the Gospels, wasn't just about Peter's mother-in-law, an ancient woman in a distant land. It's presented as profoundly, directly about you. That's a bold statement, isn't it? How can an ancient event in a quiet Galilean village be so directly relevant, so immediately applicable to someone listening right now, in their own unique circumstances, centuries later?
This is precisely where the story transcends history and becomes profoundly, maybe even startlingly, relevant to the listener's present reality. It suggests that the core principles, the intrinsic power, and the deeply personal compassion demonstrated in that ancient Galilean home are not confined to the past.
Right.
The shocking truth lies in its immediate and continuous applicability, rather than it being just a historical record. It means the kind of intimate personal attention, the comprehensive holistic healing, and the powerful call to renewed purpose that we've discussed, all seen in this miracle, are presented as available experiences today. It personalizes the narrative in a way that challenges the listener to deeply consider their own life within the context of this ancient account. It's a direct invitation to engage with the possibility of such a transformative encounter in their own present.
And the source confidently states, Jesus is still healing, restoring, and calling us to live with purpose today. This isn't just a historical anecdote, a charming story from long ago. It's presented as an ongoing living reality.
Yeah.
So how do we discern and engage with this ongoing reality playing out in our own lives, especially when it might not be a physical fever being instantly touched away, but maybe a different kind of burden, a different kind of illness of the soul?
If we truly connect this to the bigger picture, it implies a timelessness to the power and benevolent character of Jesus. It encourages us to engage in critical thinking about how ancient narratives can offer profound blueprints or direct parallels for our current-day experiences of suffering, stagnation, and hope. This raises an absolutely crucial question. How do we recognize and actively respond to that continuing presence and transformative power in our own lives, in our contemporary context? It's not necessarily about literal physical ailments being cured in the exact same manner, though, the possibility isn't excluded.
Right.
But about the profound application of those core principles. It's about holistic healing for emotional wounds, spiritual emptiness, relational brokenness, or finding clarity of purpose in a chaotic and often overwhelming world. It's about discerning how that very same restorative power is at work in our nuanced modern challenges, offering healing and a path to renewed agency.
And the very same power that touched Peter's mother-in-law's hand, the source concludes, can touch your life. But then comes the really provocative question, the one that shifts the narrative from observation to personal challenge. But will you let him? That's quite a direct challenge, isn't it? It puts the ball squarely in the listener's court, demanding a response.
This final thought shifts the focus from an external observation of an ancient event to an internal, intensely personal decision. It highlights the undeniable element of agency and choice on the part of the individual.
Yeah.
The power is presented as available, accessible, and active, but its application in one's life requires a willingness, an openness, an invitation. It's a very personal invitation that moves beyond passive reception of information to an active consideration of personal engagement.
Right.
It profoundly underscores that while divine power is immense and boundless, it often respects human free will, asking for an invitation rather than imposing itself. This direct question truly forces self-reflection. Are we truly open to this kind of profound, holistic, and purposeful transformation in our own lives right now? It's not a command, but an offering that truly requires a conscious response.
We've taken a deep dive into the healing of Peter's mother-in-law, journeying from a quiet Galilean home millennia ago to the profound personal implications for our lives today. We saw how a seemingly simple touch brought not just physical healing, but a complete, immediate restoration of vitality, and how that restoration immediately inspired active service and renewed purpose. It truly is a story packed with layers of meaning and timeless relevance.
We've thoroughly explored the personal, intimate nature of this miracle, realizing that it serves as a powerful, living reminder that a compassionate power sees our deepest struggles, offers healing that is profoundly holistic, encompassing body, mind, and soul, and calls us to a renewed life of contribution and service.
Yeah.
The synthesis of rich historical detail with these ongoing, timeless lessons truly brings this ancient story to life, making it incredibly relevant to our modern experiences of human suffering and our universal search for meaning and purpose.
Peter's mother-in-law's story, as our source material perfectly illuminates, stands as compelling proof of transformative compassion and immense power. It's a vivid illustration of how profoundly transformative a single, intimate moment can be, not just for the individual who receives the healing, but for what that individual can then go on to do for others, inspiring that ripple effect of purpose.
It beautifully underscores the profound idea that transformative power can manifest in the most humble and unexpected places. A private home, a quiet interaction impacting individual lives profoundly and inspiring a ripple effect of renewed purpose and agency.
Right.
It reminds us that often the most significant and far-reaching changes begin in quiet, personal moments, leading to significant outward expressions of renewed life, generous contribution, and meaningful service.
So as you move forward from this deep dive, what does this all mean for you? If a seemingly small, unheralded miracle in a quiet home can hold such a shocking truth and inspire a life of service millennia later, What hidden lessons, what potential for profound holistic restoration might be quietly waiting to be discovered in the small details of your own life and daily experiences? Don't forget, the very same transformative touch that brought Peter's mother-in-law back to life and purpose can change everything for you even today. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep deep diving into the insights that truly matter most.
Consider this as you reflect. If healing is truly holistic, encompassing both body and soul, and if it's inherently meant to inspire active contribution and profound purpose,
Right.
then what fevers are present in your own life, whether they're physical ailments, emotional burdens, spiritual weariness, or even relational brokenness, that you are being called to allow that compassionate touch to heal? Not just for your own comfort, but for the greater good of those around you, and for the renewed sense of purpose that awaits. This raises an important question for personal reflection. What kind of restored purpose awaits you when you embrace such transformative healing?